G'day YouTube, my name's Lance, welcome to Bundy Bear's Shed. Well, the weather report. I had a look at BOM this morning and they said 10 to 26 degrees, no rain, nice sunny day, and it's actually 8 degrees. So they haven't quite got that right. But look, it does look clear. The sun's going to be up shortly, but you can see a nice clear sky coming today, so that's a good thing. I always run better on sunny days, so that's good. With last weekend's, last weekend it was that windy and shitty here. They registered a 45 km/h winds in Bundy Bear here, and today's our bin day. Monday's our bin day, and we had the two bins out the front. Well, the wind blew them over. Oh, once they were empty, they sat them down there, and I saw them sitting there, and I thought I'll go and grab them shortly. And next thing they've blown over on the ground. So I went up and got them and sorted them out. So but ever since it's been pretty good. Through the week we had a couple of cloudy days. Sort of hit and miss. You could see the sunshine through the clouds, but there'd be the odd shower. But look, it's pretty good. Yeah, good fiddling weather. This last week I've been in the shed buggering around a little bit. Down near us, if you remember the drone footage that I did a while ago, and I had the drone up over the shed here, and you look around, you could see the river over this way towards the house. And they had the powerboat racing there yesterday, over the whole weekend, and man, they were rattling away. I got the camera going a couple of times to have a look at a few things, and just the sound levels are peaking. You can hear this down there. And, so it was just no good. Then yesterday, I wasn't allowed to get dirty yesterday. I was banned. We went into town. It was my young fella Tim. It's his birthday on Tuesday, and so we got together for Sunday lunch in at the Sugarland Tavern. And pardon me. And went and picked Mum up, and had a muck around in there. And at the Sugarland Tavern on weekends, it's free feeds for kids, and which we didn't really know. But by the time you buy kids pizza and chips and nuggets and things like that, normally $12 a meal. But on Sundays, I think it might be Saturdays and Sundays, not sure. They were free, and then the kids get a voucher for a free kids drink, and then they get another voucher for an ice cream. So the kids thought that's a bloody good place. And they have a games room there, and a couple of the skill test things, you put money in, but we didn't bother with that much. But young Arrow, he put his hand up and grabbed, I don't know where he got it from. But he ended up with a Super Ball and that, and I think people might leave him there or something. I don't know how it works. And then Jude and I dropped Mum off, and then we thought we'd go out and have a look at the new Bundy Bear ginger beer factory off near the ring road. Man, it's going to be a big place. They've outgrown over East Bundy Bear where they sort of got going, and then they've got admin offices in town, and they're sort of spread out, and they've built this new big complex, and it is huge. Look, they've probably got 20-30 acres of land there or something like that, I'd imagine. And it's well worth a look. So it looks like that'll be the new tourist centre and all. So it looks good. And then we went for a drive out through Parklands, which is it's a small acreage, probably 3/4 of an acre to an acre and a half blocks out there maybe, and some lovely homes out there and big sheds. And so we come back and had a look at how much they were. And it's $500,000-$700,000 for these homes, but look, some of them are very nice and big high clearance sheds like ours here. And I said to Jude, if we ever have to sell this place here and go, I could downsize, I could probably move out there, I reckon. And a shed for a lathe and a milling machine, and tinkering room in your old age. So but anyway, we've got it bloody good here, the thing about being on a good thing's knowing you're on it, isn't it? This old motor you can see hanging here, that's my mate John Dudley's motor. That's a 1929 Farmall regular, and we haven't done much on it for ages. And we had to get parts out of America, and we had to get new bearing shells from Fordson House in America, and we got that. And because I was trying to push along with the 65, I haven't been doing much on this. And look, he hadn't been worried. It's a mates rates job sort of thing. So the other day we're having a yarn, and he's been down at Inverell, and then on this weekend, Case IH put a thing together, the Inverell, northwestern New South Wales, to see who could get the most. I'll see if they could get into Guinness Book of World Records on how many farm hauls they could have running at the same time. And I'm not 100% sure of the rules, but they had to have them. They all had to cover a distance of 3.2 kilometres and all be running at the same time. And I don't know what else the other rules were, but they had 224 tractors out on the field doing the lap of the Inverell showgrounds, and 14 got disqualified. And if they just run out of fuel, or they coughed and spluttered and run out or stopped, well, that was it. They couldn't be counted. But I see that they got the Guinness. I've got the world record of 110 running tractors. So John's been down, JD's been down there doing that, and while he's been down there, he's picked up a set of the second set of 65 pressed steel centre wheels for me. So there's a company down there called Rural Wrecking, and Tommy Horwood owns it, and his family. And John and Tom have been doing tractor deals lately. John's had some tractors and Tommy wanted, and Tommy got like 150 or something like that tractors, or maybe more. And they've been doing wheeling and dealing. So John's got a small truck, and he was running down to swap tractors and pick up. I think he bought an ASO 6 or something off Tom, the Australian made one, and he was giving Tom an F12 or 14. Anyway, deals within deals, and he offered to pick up the 65, the 14928 65 pressed steel centres that Tom sold me. And so he's had them at Howard. We haven't got them up here yet. And Gordon Ellis, my mate, Gordy, the Fergie wrecker, he had a set down there. He said, "Hey, I found a set of those rims." And I said, "Look, I've been trying that long to find them. I'll buy them and I'll keep them here for future projects." And so John was catching up with Gordon this last weekend to grab them and bring them back up. And he's telling me this week, someone gave him some conrods that they thought might have been good for this engine, because we had a buggered conrod, and they were the wrong ones. So the fella wants them back. So he's going to come up from Howard, bring my rims up. He's got to go out to the auction centre where they bought some wheels and tyres at an auction a little while ago. Pardon me. And get them. Then he's going to come out here, drop my rims off, pick up the conrods, and do the milk run sort of thing. So perhaps this week or next weekend or something. So he knows on the 12th, so in a fortnight we'll be heading off on our big trip. And so he's going to try and work it in between then, I think. So but anyway, I thought, I'll do a bit of work on John's engine. I haven't done anything on the 65, but before I go away, I would like to just have that gearbox housing on, and the bolts cleaned up, and just a coat of undercoat over the whole thing, and I'll make that one of the goals to get done. That sun's going to come up and hit me right in the face here in a second. Hang on, I'll slide the door over. Okay, back again. I was sliding the door over, and old Grumpy Dave was coming up the driveway to bring me a little lever he just found, but he reckons it's off a Fergie Governor, and I don't reckon it is. I don't know what it's off. I think it's off an injection pump on the side there, but he reckons not. So, I forget where I bloody well was now, but anyway, I started playing with JD's tractor, and I thought I'd shim up some conrods, because they're the type of conrods where, over here they are. So you have shims between the caps here, and as they wear, you undo the cap and pull a shim out, and it brings them closer together. So you can take up the wear, and you can do that. They've got big handholds in the side of the block, and you can do that through the side of the block to take any slop out if it comes hitting the head. So I thought I'd fiddle around with a couple of those, and it's a job I've been putting off because it's a fiddle. And anyway, I started on one of them, and I thought, well, I'll just do one complete conrod at a time, get it bead blasted up and get the rings on and all that. But I got to number 3, and down through there, there's a tiny crack. Yeah, you can just see it there. The others look good. We hadn't noticed before, but I am going to tidy the other pistons up and bead blast them up and have a look. So now we need to find a piston for a 1929 Farmall regular, and I believe a 1020, McCormick Deering 1020. This is McCormick Deering actually, yeah. I believe a 1020 piston's the same. So while John was away down in Inverell on the weekend, he was going to have a chat, see if he knew anyone down there with one, or see if one of the wreckers had one or something like that. And if not, we're probably going to have to send over to Rice Equipment or Fordson House in the States and get a new piston. And so that slowed the job up all the others, because I'm going to pull all the pistons off the rods on the others, and then if we get a new piston over, well, we're going to have to weigh them and make sure we haven't got a heavy one and a light one and all that. So get them right. So that slowed that part of the job up. And we were going to take the cylinder head off the 29 regular here. We were going to take the cylinder head into town and do it, but I popped the valves out for JD, and then had a look, and some of them are a little bit thin on the edges, and there's a little bit of valve guide wear. Not enough to worry about, but the quote for doing the head was something like around $700 to get the guide, get it all done. So we made a decision. I said, look, I think I'll just do it for you, JD, and that way a little bit of valve guide wear we're not going to worry about. These old motors are very forgiving. They're not a Formula 1 engine. And so to save expense, I said I'd do it. So on Saturday, I got the valves, and I've got an old Wolf valve grinder, but I've never got round to restoring it. It's on the gunner list. And so I went up and put them in my lathe. I run a test indicator along the seat on one of the best valves so I could get the angle right, and I machined them all up. I actually tried to start with a high-speed steel tool, and just didn't like it. Didn't want to bite in. It was one of those diamond tool holder tools, tangential tools, and just didn't like it. So so I got a really pointy carbide bit and supported the valve right up near the head in the 6-jaw chuck, and they had centres in them, but the centres weren't your normal 60-degree centre. Back in the day, 1929, we're nearly 100 years old. 96 or whatever bloody well is, 93. The centres, they must have drilled their own centres, because the centres weren't our common 60-degree, but I did have one that had more angle on it. It was perhaps 80 or something like that, and it seemed to fit in them okay. So by supporting the head and supporting the valve and doing the run down, they come out bloody beautiful. I did a quick little video, and I sat the head, because of the boat racing and that, I couldn't film much, so I just sat the head on the pallet in the doorway at the shed here, sat in the sun, had a nice time, had the radio on, and just had a nice time. I hand cut the seats with the New Way cutters, and it's ready to go together. The spark plug threads, I bead blasted or sandblasted the combustion chambers because they had quite a build up of carbon, and I noticed that there's quite a bit of carbon in the spark plug threads, and I didn't really want to get the sandblaster because I was using the sandblaster, not the little bead blaster. I didn't want to really hammer shit out of those threads and I had the spark plugs in there, the old plugs, but there's still a lot of carbon there. So I always thought though those old International Farm Walls and that was 7/8 UNF threads. So I thought, okay, I've got that all clean now. I'll go up the front and grab a 7/8 UNF threading tap and have a look. And I'm looking at it and it's not right. So those farm walls and the early International M's and things like that, your stationary motors and all that have the 7/8 plug, it's 7/8 18 threads per inch, which makes it a UNS for Sam thread. And I didn't have a tap, so jumped on Amazon and I found it. I had a look at McMaster car because I couldn't find one in Australia anywhere, and people they had them listed but they were out of stock, and I jumped on McMaster car in the States and they wanted $75 for US for the tap plus freight, and I thought, oh shit, you know, I didn't really want to go make it that expensive. But anyway, I jumped on Amazon, and it won't be the quality of the McMaster car one, but I've got a tap and a die. They have a set for $60, $66, and that includes freight to Australia. So I've got that coming just to clean out the threads, but I may get the head assembled today. I'll just see. If not, there's no big rush. I'll see what happens. But now I've got the valves done and the seats cut, and I've got the head all clean. I'll probably try and assemble the valves in each cylinder, and I think I've explained. I did a little walk around video on the head, and I'm probably doubling up on what I'm telling you here, but yeah, some of the valves, some of the exhaust valves have been ground and they were getting quite pointy on the edge. So with an exhaust valve, if they get too sharp on the edge, as the exhaust from the combustion comes around the corner to get out the port, that's where they burn the edges and that, if they valve adjustment gets out a little bit. So I've shuffled all the valves around despite what the centre pop marks they had on them, and I've put the best quality valves on the exhaust, and I've put the slightly sharper ones on the inlets, because when you're drawing cold air over a valve, you haven't got the chance of burning the edge off your intake valve. So I've shuffled them around, but they're all good. Now another thing I was doing while it was noisy, I thought, right, I'll head up the top and do a bit of machining. So what the story is on the front of the block here. Oh, you can just sort of see that, but there's a thread in the front, and this thread, or this pin, has this belt tensioner on it, and that's quite sloppy. And you can see that with the belt wear here, it's been riding hard. It's starting to come up hard against the corner there. So we've got lovely new belts from Rice Equipment in the States. They've got lovely canvas belts. So what the job is, I've got to bore this out true. The female here, I've got to bore that out true. And the fix I thought I was going to do, this is just a Cat 3 linkage pin with an 1/8" UNF thread here, and I thought what I would do there is I could use that pin and I'd build a spacer here so the thread can yeah, just be the same length and all that. But I'll just spin you around a little. But the thing is, with this thread, back in 1929, old mate in the factory, he would have made this pin. You can see how it's a bit of mild steel, and then he would have single point threaded that. So I got the pin, and by the time you screw the pin in here, look at that. So the modern manufactured pin, like even right in when it's all over the place. And I know it would go in tight and come up against this shoulder, but that's just not how we do things. No shit leaves the shed. So, and old mate that made this thread back in the factory, he's made the thread match the hole, I would imagine, and look at that. You can just feel a little bit there, but there's bugger all. So this thread here is, I don't think it was 20 thou, but anyway, it's the thread on this pin here is quite a bit larger than a standard one, and so to put this rubbish in there and have it slopping around and just relying on 50% of thread depth or something is not how we're going to do it. So I'm going to remake this, and anyone knows that buggers around with lathes and that a bit. If I put this in, if I put a bit of metal in the chuck and I start doing this thread here, and I have got the measurement here of 1 inch 121 thou. I've got the measurement there, and you could do a thread, but there's nothing like actually trying it. So the other day what I've done, I've replicated this thread here. So I've made a test nut. I was thinking later on when I do the thread on the bolt, I'm going to I'm going to try and knurl this just so I know that's what it is. So I've made a test nut to replicate the whole. Yeah, it's hard to see that bloody thing, isn't it, the thread. So this replicates the hole in the block. So when you get that to full depth there, there's just nothing there. So the whole purpose in life of this fella is to replicate the hole there. So when I've got this in the lathe and I'm cutting the thread and I'm sneaking up on that final size, just doing 5 thou cuts or spring pass or something like that, I know once this goes on, we're good to go. Now I didn't bring one of the nuts up, but yeah, the nut off this Bearco pin will not even screw on to there. And the other thing here is you can see the tit there. That's where old mate in the factory parted it off. So that's how I know it's probably hand done, I reckon. So I'm actually looking forward to this. I enjoyed doing this on Saturday. I don't know if I started off making this, and I was going to have a bit of a film of it, and then the lathe was such a mess from making all those PDO collars. Then through the week I've just been doing little knick-knacks that I wanted to do, and the lathe was filthy, so I had to stop at half time and tidy it up. So so I did that, and yeah, in between boat races I did a little bit of filming. Just I had Barry will have a laugh. I got Barry up in the corner on the TV. I was watching him get his David Brown 990, Barry from Man from the Mist. Then once he got his tractor going, I could leave him with it. He didn't need my help anymore. And then I was watching Curtis from Cutting Edge Engineering. So I have the TV up there, and you're not really watching it, flat out watching it, but you're keeping an eye on it as you're bugging around. So that worked out okay. Then we got a book a little while ago about overhauling the 1020 and the 1530, and I got this book a little while ago now, and that's for the timing. And so yeah, you have to get the timing, get the flywheel mark lined up, and then sort the magneto out. So it explains it in here, so that'll be handy. Me mate Biddy, he rang me last Monday and he says, hey, he said he was getting a Farmall, he had a W4, which is a wide front Farmall H really, and he had a wide front to take over to the Farmall world record attempt, and by the time he put it on his little truck, because it had the heavy centres and that, he was overloaded. So he thought, well, what am I going to do? I'll have a look around for some pressed steel centres, to take the weight out, the spoke centres. So he found some up at Mackay, I think he was saying, Serena, Mackay. So it's about 6-7 hours each way. So he found a whole tractor up there. So off he heads off up there and picks up this tractor, brings it home, and the motor was stuck. So he thought, oh, he'll try and free it up. And so he put a bit of diesel and all down the bores and slowly, and he ended up getting it wound over. But the carby was toast, but I had done a carby, I'd restored a carby on his W4 for him. So he got the carby off his W4, the magneto off his W4 that he just had done up. He put it on this bloody old Farmall H, and bugger me if it didn't start. he drove it around. That's arsey. And he drove it around and he says, I'm going to take that to this Farmall dude. And I said, yeah, oh, fair enough. But he said, I need the carby done up. So the carby off it. So he said, no hurry. And I said, oh, look, Biddy, I said, I'm going away in a fortnight. I probably won't have time. I don't know. And he said, no hurry. He said, I'll just drop it off at the shop there. And I was thinking, oh, okay. Oh, pardon me. So we had the parts there. So that was after work last week. So I took a bit of footage of that. Yeah, the radio was on and that, so I'll probably just show you a little bit of footage. I don't know how good that'll be, but yeah, we've got new butterflies and new everything there. So I'll take that into Biddy. I'll take that into Biddy when I go to work tomorrow. And that's one thing off my mind that I haven't got to, when I'm away thinking about jobs I've got to do. And so yeah, it was an eventful week. Never a dull moment. I got approached by Vivo, the Vivo company that Vivo Reviews and that are all over the internet, and you hop on Facebook and it's in your bloody feed and it's everywhere. And I got approached by them a little while ago to say that I want to do a few reviews for them, and I said, look, no, I don't really want to. And anyway, they approached me again last week, and I said, well, hang on a second, I'll go and have a look. And I said, if there's something on your in your range of products that I think my viewers could get a benefit out of, I'll consider it. I'll have a look. And I said, oh well, yeah, suit yourself. So I had a look, and what they have overseas is, those who watch the channel for ages know I've got a set of Sparex splitting rails, and I've got the little set, the tiny ones that I brought in through Steiner, cost me an arm and a leg, and then I got the 5-ton ones that are certified for Australian use in Australia, the big ones. So I've got them too. So I have two sets, and the 5-ton one that's certified for use in Australia, it's a little bit big. Like, it's all right for the 65. It's a little bit big for 35s and things like that. High clearance tractors, it's great. John Deere's, it's good. The David Brown, it would work fine. But anyway, overseas I see Vivo have a splitting rail, and I'll see if I can find it and put just a picture of it here. And I thought, well, that'd be handy, and I might get one of them over and just do a review, then give it away. And but yeah, they haven't got them in Australia, and I think what happens, like, Sparex can't bring the smaller trolleys into Australia because they haven't got the Australian certification. Australian certification is, if it's registered at 5-ton, I think you've got to do 4 times at 20, or testing for 20 or something. So Sparex have the big rails available, but they're quite dear. They're a couple of $1,000. But in saying that, a couple of the dealerships in town, Caleb was saying, bought 4 recently, because there's nothing else on the market that's certified for use. So if you're splitting a big International or a John Deere or a Massey or something like that, and you've got the shop-made stands and something goes wrong, well, they're liable. So they've been buying these good quality ones, and they are good quality without a doubt. And so I thought, oh, well, that might be all right. But yeah, they're not available in Australia at the moment. They're not on the Vivo Australian site, so I can't have one. But I had a look, and there's a couple of things I put on the list to see, and they reckon they're going to give me an air jack that does 11,000 pounds, 6 tonne I think it is, and it's got a really good lift on it. And I thought, well, I could use that. So it's on its way apparently. So yeah, it's a air jack that you can just wheel around the place, hook your shop air in, crank her up, and bop up your tractor goes. And then bloody, it's got a raise and lower and all that sort of thing on it. You know, separate things for safety. And I said, look, before that, I'm going to go and have a look at a few reviews. So I had a look at a couple of reviews on YouTube, and look, it looks like a good thing. So I'm going to do a review on that. Then I have been looking at digital tension wrenches, and the last snap-on digital tension wrench I bought 10 years ago was $700. And the snap-on fella come into the shop to buy some parts recently, and I said, hey, half-inch drive snappy tension wrench, digital tension wrench, how much? And he said, oh, they're only about $1,400, and I nearly fell over. But anyway, so look, they've got some digital tension wrenches we're going to try out a little bit later on, as in half-inch drive, 3/8 drive. I can't think what else was on there. But anyway, I said, look, I'll do it. Don't pressure me or anything, I'll get to it. So I'll put a few out. I'll keep them in a separate thing, a separate playlist, so if you don't want to watch them, you don't have to. But yeah, it'll be good to get a bit of gear in the shop here and yeah, test a bit of stuff out. But oh, the other thing that's coming, not now, when I've asked them to wait, and I said, look, I can get one video out between now and when we go away, if you get your shit together and get it here. And afterwards, they've got and it looks to be good glycerine-filled test gauges with a heap of fittings and tees and all that. And I'll put a picture here of that. And I'm going to get that, and when I'd like to test the hydraulics on the 148 and see why it leaks down. It might be standpipe O-rings, it may be that simple. And do the testing on the 65 when we get it going. So I do have the digital gauge, but I only have the one, and I thought with the digital gauge I can hook the T on and have a digital gauge here and the Vivo gauge there, and I can actually use my hand pump and we'll just test the gauges, because the Sykes Pickerman? No, Parker Hannaford gauge that I've got, the digital one, it's a good quality thing. It hasn't been calibrated in a few years, but I've never stretched it or anything like that, so I've no reason to believe it's not accurate. So yeah, we'll do a bit of testing and buggering around that. So that's coming along, but I will keep them separate just to, well, I suppose they would want that anyway, but just so if you don't want to watch that, don't bother, you're happy, don't worry me. But yeah, I was thinking for lifting up the David Brown, swapping wheels and lifting up this thing, you can't wheel it around like a big floor jack. It's just a jack that goes under and you press the button and boop, up she goes. So anyway, I decided to do that, and the deal is I'll get that in, I'll do the review on it, I'll see how we work together. If we work together okay, fine. If they get a bit pushy or something like that, they can shove it. It's that simple. The Auteur laser people, like, they were good. They sort of said, oh yeah, can you have it done in 2 weeks? And I said, yeah, that's no worries. And I had to sign an agreement that was full payment for the video and all that sort of thing. But that Auteur laser, I use it. I was on it yesterday. I made a couple of little wooden spoon things, and because I wasn't allowed up the shed to get dirty, I could do a little bit there. So it's been great. But then they said, oh, can you put another video out on that? And another video, and they got pushy. So I said, no, we're not doing that. The deal was the deal, and yeah, that's how it works. So we'll see. But look, there's a few little videos, tack-on videos of a little bit of machine shop. I showed a little bit of doing the carby. I'll probably speed that up as it goes through, because it was just, there wasn't any narrative or anything like that. It was just showing you that I was doing it. There's a little chat about the head when I was doing the head. I've probably doubled up talking about this stuff. We'll see. But I am a bit keen to go up and make this pin today. And yeah, sometimes you just feel like a bit of machining, and I'm a bit like that at the moment. Oh, geez, I'll do me gym here, eh? I'll be bloody fit. But yeah, what we have to do here is take the pin out there, the bolt out there. I've got to sit this up in the mill. Hopefully that bottom surface is flat. If not, we might be able to put a pin, make it, a flat piece of steel with a pin that'll bolt onto the mill table, and I can clamp that on so I know it'll be true to there, and then indicate down here. And if this is true, I just need to make this round again. So it's the bare minimum, the smallest amount that I can take out of there, because there's not a lot of meat there when you look at it. So the other option, and you can actually, I don't know whether it's casting, you can see it's a lot fatter here than over there. So I won't do I'll do the thread on this and get that done, because I've got it set up for that. But this shank here, I won't do that at the moment, because I might need to make it 10 thou oversize or something like that. So hopefully I'm up there doing that today. Pardon me. I've got some of the taps and dies I was sorting out last week. I've got sorted out. I've run out of blue pots from Sparex now. I've got to wait for them to get some more in. That seems to be working well. A viewer suggested the super cheap auto ones. They've got nice containers themselves in there, but my drawers are 50mm deep and theirs are 70 or something, so they're just a bit tall. But the super cheap auto ones are a lot cheaper, but they just sort of don't work with my setup quite as well. So when they get some more, I'll get some more. I need some for the metric taps and dies now. But all the UNF, UNC, Whitworth, and the BSP, NPT, the pipe threads are all done now. So that's a good thing. But there's a couple of the big Whitworth ones that I've bought over the years, and they've just got a little bit of surface rust on. And yeah, some of the Whitworth dies and that I've got over the years, taps and dies, they've got a little bit of surface rust and that on them. And with the CRC sponsorship, they gave me a little thing of a vapor rust to try. Well, we've got the 5 litre pots at work, and I've made a 10 litre bucket. So today while I'm machining, I'm going to, I'll film it for you. I'm going to drop a couple of them into this vapor rust and leave it there for a few hours and bring it out and see what we have, see what sort of job it does. But it's not big deep rust. It's just surface rust and looks a bit crappy. And I think, well, if we deal with it now, get it cleaned up, yeah, get it tidied up. Apparently it takes no edge off the tool or anything like that, and we can use a bit of the Marine 66, which is over at the door at the moment. Or 336, and yeah, a bit of that over it and put it back in the pot, and it should be nice for next time and nice and clean. So I'll do a bit of a test today with that, and I'll keep the camera going because I'll probably film some of this threading, and yeah, that'll go on the end of the stew. So I've waffled on a fair bit today, so I'll put the videos in part 2 of a stew, because yeah, just with the chatting, and I must have had a lot to tell you. The talk will be a bit long. So look, anyway, thanks for dropping by again. Yeah, have a good week, everybody. We'll be back next week, and next week will be the last stew before we go away, and I'll see if I can get a bit of machining content, which I love machining. Buggering around. I'm tossing up with buying a new mill, but anyway, we'll see. My old mill's okay, I just got to pick it up off the ground a bit. I find it a bit low, so anyway. All right, I'll shut up. Thanks for dropping by. Have a great week. See you next week, eh?